All right, hello from Indy. Today I want to talk about a little subject here. Getting ready for that block to come back and just getting everything ready. And one subject you don't see explained a lot on YouTube is your lifter preload. There's a lot of videos on there that show you how to assemble the short block, all these other things, but they really don't go in depth into the lifter preload. And that's, they just don't. I don't know why there's not more videos on that. Of course, a lot of people are using adjustable rockers and all those things and new push rods. But again, I do these videos to kind of try to help people that are newer how to understand some of these things. They're not hard. So, while we're talking about lifter preload, and that is making sure your push rods are the right length for your engine when you've rebuilt it and you've made changes, right? So my block has the push rods. Now the push rods, here's your lifter, and it goes in the lifter bore and sets down on the cam, right? And I'll just set it right here for now. Then your push rod sets in that cup, and it goes up through here, through the head, to the rocker. And so that push rod has to be a certain length. Things that play into that not only are the push rod length, but when my block comes back from the machine shop, I had the pistons installed zero deck. So they'll take some of the material, lost my focus there, they'll take some of the material off this block, make that shorter. My heads are being cut to 84 cc's, they're at the machine shop. So that's taken quite a bit of material off. Now, I'll use a different head gasket, and that may make up the difference, right? But we need to know that. So, coming over here again, this is your rocker, and your push rod will sit in that cup, and it goes down into the engine and sits into this little cup. And as you put your rockers on and you tighten them down, that rod is going to push on this cup and push it down. You can see that, how that spring loaded in there. Okay, now there's a couple things. You can see this little wire in here. That's your retainer. And one of the reasons for the preload is you don't want this touching that wire. You don't want this engine as it's running 6,000 or 5,000 RPM, this thing coming up smacking that wire 5,000 times a minute or whatever, right? So the preload sets that down in there a little bit, okay? Now, there's only so much also. If you look as I push down, that's as far as it will go. So each manufacturer, Chrysler's not the only one that uses these, each manufacturer will give you a spec of where they want it. And for example, this isn't a literal number. Just say they want it to be between 20 and 40 thousandths or 20 and 60 thousandths. So when you install this, it needs to be at least 20, right, which is not much, it's just a little bit, or 60, which is a little bit more, but no more than that, because you've got to have the play, you don't want to bottoming out. And again, so how do you adjust that? Well, once you get everything installed, you can measure that. You can use a measuring push rod to check that. That's the simplest way to do it. They make a push rod that's adjustable in length. Screws in, screws out. You can install it. First thing you do is you set it in there at 0 lash, so it just touches. It doesn't compress this any, but it touches, and this is firm, and there's no wiggle or nothing, okay? That's 0. Then you would just add your thickness to that rod, and that'd give you your 20 thousandths. But when you measure that, you need to take into account your head gasket thickness. The best way to do it is to assemble your motor with the checking push rod. That way there's no error. Now, you have to know the compressed thickness of your head gasket, etc. So I just want to go over that. Now, once I get my engine back, I'm going to do a video on that, and we're going to measure it, and I'll show you guys that. Because again, that's one of the few things, one of the videos you don't see much out there on that, explaining to guys how to do that, and we'll show you. So you think about it, and here's your question. Okay, I've got my stock block, I'm putting a different cam in it, but I'm cutting it to 0 deck, I'm cutting the heads down, different head gaskets, So what do you think? You think I'm going to be able to use my current push rods or not? Well, that's what we're going to find out when we check all this. We'll get a measuring push rod, we'll measure it, and we'll know by using a thicker head gasket, will that thicker head gasket make up for the difference? And I'll show you guys how to tell that, okay? All right, I think that's pretty much it. I know it's kind of a very vague demonstration today, but I want you guys to at least understand this. When they're talking about preloading your lifter, this is what they're talking about. Getting it off that retainer just a little bit, right? That's probably 20 thousandths right there. And, you know, whatever. But that's it. All right, later.